I'm here to make inflammatory statements on the internet, and then turn my notifications off.
My goodness, I got so much to do, but every time I sit down to do something, I see stupid stuff online that grinds my gears and make me wonder, there are some really stupid people that live among us. So I'm not gonna mess any of you around who decided to click on the video. Final Fantasy XVI has been turning heads lately because it is the first game in the entire franchise to receive an M rating. Not sure why, I didn't look into it, but I'm sure it is probably not for the reasons that I hope.
Not.
With people wanting to know more about Final Fantasy XVI, and it looks like Kotaku has started to lose their journalistic privileges. The news outlet, if you can call it a news outlet, has been paraphrasing what other outlets have been doing, which doesn't look nice for Kotaku in any way. And the times they do bring out something original, it looks something like this. Seriously, Kotaku, just let it go, dude. We get it. You are still salty that a movement online revealed the incestuous relationship between gaming journals and the game developers, something that we still see to this day. We get it, you're still salty over it, but that happened over a decade ago. Just let it go, dude. But I want to pay a close attention to who wrote this article. SiSi Jiang. They also wrote this article. Bayonetta 3 reviews say it's stylish and fun, but flubs the ending. Critics liked the spectacle of fast-paced BDSM action, but felt cold about how it treats its heroine. Remember I said earlier Kotaku is nowadays paraphrasing what other outlets are doing? Look no further than this article. I think Kotaku didn't get the review copies because the article literally is a compilation of what other outlets said about Bayonetta 3 in their reviews. I kid you not, dude, the article is just SiSi Jiang writing one paragraph which is like the introduction, and the rest are just quotes from other outlets. But we are going to be focusing on this article written by the same author. Final Fantasy XVI developer had a terrible answer for why the game is so white. Naoki Yoshida feels that racial diversity would be a violation of narrative boundaries. This headline is so misleading, dude, I can't even... We will go through why the headline is misleading, but let's go through the article right now. 2 weeks ago, Square Enix released a new story trailer for its upcoming RPG Final Fantasy XVI. There's just one noticeable problem. There doesn't seem to be a single non-white character in it. It is only a problem for the mainstream media, okay? Let's not kid around. A lot of us just looked at the trailer and went, this looks good, I can't wait to play it on my PC because I'm not shelling money to buy a PS5 when it will cost me less to simply upgrade my GPU and PSU, and I'll have something more powerful than a PS5. But that's a completely different conversation for another time. So IGN asked producer Naoki Yoshida about whether or not the game would feature any black people or people of color. Unfortunately, his response made me go, yikes in real life. Your mother should have gone yikes in the labor room when she pushed you out of a...
Oh my!
Yoshida explained that the fantasy world of Velestia was based on medieval Europe, and they wanted to limit the world culturally and geographically. Velestia was never going to realistically be as diverse as say a modern day Earth or even Final Fantasy XIV, he said, as if he was being asked to incorporate every race on the entire planet. Boy. Ultimately, we felt that while incorporating ethnic diversity into Velestia was important, an over-incorporation into this single corner of a much larger world could end up causing a violation of those narrative boundaries we originally set for ourselves. Now, I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. When I read that paragraph, I was like, as a person of color myself, I gotta say, I was not impressed by it. Good thing SiSi Jiang linked the IGN interview on the web page, so I decided to read through the entire thing to get more context. And trust me, there was a lot of context. The person who was interviewing Yoshida, I think it's Kat Bailey, she asked him, in regards to diversity in the game, can we expect to see black characters in Final Fantasy XVI or people of color, non-white characters in general? To clarify a bit more, there's been discussion around the trailers to date featuring mostly white characters, and I want to get clarity on whether we can expect the final game to be more diverse. I can personally say for myself, and I know a lot of gamers would agree with me, we looked at the trailer and the first thing that came in our mind was definitely not this. Like, why is the game so white? Okay, that was not my first thought, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people who would agree with me. Also, why would you want to ask this question anyway? But fine, whatever, let's move on. Yoshida had a lot to say, as you can see on the screen right now, and I feel like I need to go through it all to give more context. Naoki Yoshida, the producer of Final Fantasy XVI, he replied with this. This is a difficult question, but not one that was unexpected, seeing as diversity in entertainment media has become a much discussed topic as of late. The answer I have, however, may end up being disappointing to some depending on individual expectations. Our design concept from the earliest stage of development has always heavily featured medieval Europe, incorporating historical, cultural, political, and anthropological standards that were prevalent at the time. When deciding on a setting that was best suited to the story we wanted to tell, the story of a land beset by the Blight, we felt that rather than create something on a global scale, it was necessary to limit the scope to a single landmass, one geographically and culturally isolated from the rest of the world, in an age without airplanes, television, or telephones. Due to the underlying geographical, technological, and geopolitical constraints of this setting, Valencia was never going to realistically be as diverse as, say, a modern-day Earth, or even Final Fantasy XIV, that has an entire planet and moon worth of nations, races, and cultures at its disposal. The isolated nature of this realm, however, does end up playing a large part in the story, and is one of the reasons Valencia's fate is tied to the rest of the world. I don't need to go through the article any further, but for the sake of transparency, something SiSi Jiang didn't do, I feel like I need to go through it all. Ultimately, we felt that while incorporating ethnic diversity into Valencia was important, an over-introduction into this single corner of a much larger world could end up causing a violation of those narrative boundaries we originally set for ourselves. The story we are telling is fantasy, yes, but it is also rooted in reality. See, when you put it in that way, his comments actually make sense. SiSi Jiang took this one paragraph, twisted it, and presented it in such a fashion like the game was problematic or something. Yoshida went on, conversely, the Final Fantasy series of games have always inherently dealt with conflict and struggle, especially between the empowered and those used and or exploited by those privileged few, a prominent trend in human history. In a game that, by design, allows players to experience that conflict and struggle firsthand through dynamic, realistic battles, it can be challenging to assign distinctive ethnicities to either antagonists or protagonists without triggering audience preconceptions, inviting unwarranted speculation, and ultimately stoking flames of controversy. The best part of pulling inspiration directly from history, however, is that it allows us to revisit and re-examine our own past, while also allowing us to create something new. In the end, we want the focus to be less on outward appearance of our characters and more on who they are as people. People who are complex and diverse in their natures, backgrounds, beliefs, personalities, and motivations. People whose stories we can resonate with. There is diversity in Velestia, diversity that, while not all-encompassing, is synergistic with the setting we have created and is true to the inspirations from which we are drawing. This makes a whole lot more sense, and shame on SiSi Jiang for taking that little snippet and presenting it out of context. Shame on you big time. Seriously. God, oh my goodness. You know what? I'm gonna just calm down. Let's move on.
Daddy, chill.
Anyways, now that we know exactly what Yoshida said, let's look at Kotaku's article and see how Jiang tried to spin it. Which begs the question, why did they enforce a whites-only boundary in the first place? Did this person actually read the full answer? I bet they got triggered halfway through and didn't bother to read the full thing. After acknowledging that the real world is more diverse than Velestia, he continued, "The story we are telling is fantasy, yes, but it is also rooted in reality." Which is it, Yoshida? You can't say that your fictional world isn't bound to reality and then use reality to explain why black people can't exist in Velestia. He just explained why minorities don't exist in that part of the world, because Velestia is cut off from the rest of the world. Just like Wakanda is cut off from the rest of the world. We don't see people say, how come there are no white or brown people in Wakanda? Seriously, does that not explain? Oh my god. I'm having an aneurysm over here. Pick a struggle and stick with it. Please. How about I help you out, Jiang? The developers looked at the real world setting and filled it with fantasy, but kept it grounded enough so it abides to real world rules like the rule of breathing oxygen, gravity, the geographical inspiration, and so on. Does that help? I'm not even a game developer and I can grasp that little concept, but I had to look at your Twitter profile and it says that you're a 3-time award nominated developer. You know, it says that in your bio, and you're struggling to understand this little concept. But then again, what can I expect from someone who has an anime avatar? Oh, they have a check mark too? Have fun paying $8 a month for that, considering it validates your entire existence.
Emotional damage!
What's really frustrating about all of this is that black and brown people have always existed in medieval Europe. If the creative leadership had done more research or checked their biases... Hold on. Did somebody say biases? Also, I hate this argument when people say there were black and brown people in Europe. Yes, there were, but there were not as many of these, gaming journalists make them out to be. They must have been traders, passing through, servants, or just some handful of people settling outside of major cities and establishment. It is unclear how many, but considering Europe was the, benchmark of white people, I sincerely doubt there were that many black or brown people to begin with. Also, what is the author talking about? Last time I checked, don't black people make up just 15% of the entire population of America? I mean, yeah, there are other races as well, but I'm sure America is predominantly white. And back then, we didn't have human rights laws either. So it would make sense why the people of color may not decide to, stick around in the more whiter areas of Europe. It's common sense. I emailed Square Enix to ask how it decided on whether or not a story element violated the developers' narrative boundaries. And I'll let you know once I've gotten a response. You ain't gonna get no response. The moment the PR guy gonna see your email, he'd hit the delete button so hard you think he's trying to clear his browser history before his wife finds out. I just rewatched the latest trailer, the one embedded above, and saw a giant winged lady throwing ice shards. Apparently that's not too over the top for fantasy realism, but bringing in real people from different races is a step too far. Yes, because the giant winged lady throwing ice shards contributes to the story, just like Celestia being cut off from the rest of the world contributes to the story. Did you not read the full answer, Baka? Oh my god, I'm struggling to make this funny. Localization director Michael Christopher Koji Fox told IGN that the game drew inspiration from Game of Thrones, but even Game of Thrones had black side characters, albeit represented very poorly. Final Fantasy XVI might be worse about representation than one of the most widespread shows on prestige television. I just want to point this out here, this entire article that SiSi Jiang wrote is based on a few trailers alone. They have not played the game yet. Nobody has played the game yet outside of Square Enix, and even that is in doubt considering the game is not yet finished. The entirety of this article is based upon trailers that tell us nothing about the story and a response to a question that the author has taken out of context. How do you know that you don't see people of color in the game at all? How do you know that people of color don't show up near the end and give aid, to the good guys to help defeat the Blight? Maybe there is an army of people of color that turn up near the end to save the day. You don't know the answer to those questions because you have not played the game. Also, Final Fantasy games have always been about, exploration. Maybe there are people of color outside the mainland of Celestia. How about you answer these questions for me, Jiang? I would be waiting to hear your response. Jiang is talking about black people in gaming, but what about brown people? How many protagonists do you see that are brown in gaming? You don't see us brown people complaining. Outside of games that allow, character creation, there is no game that I can think of that featured a brown person as a protagonist. Do you know why? Because I don't want to play as a brown person, in a game. Imagine playing Saints Row or something as a white character. The white character is gonna be like, give me all your money or I'll pop a cap in your skull. Brown guy is gonna be like, give me all your money right now. I am serious. Why are you giving me your phone? I don't want your phone, I'm stealing your car. You need help with your phone? Do I look like I work at Amazon tech support? My brother works there, he's hairier than me. Screw it, I will walk to my destination. Oh my god.
How does it make you feel? It doesn't matter how it makes you feel!
Now you know why I don't want to play as a brown character, because that's not gonna go well. Seriously. And besides, the whole idea of gaming is about the whole power fantasy thing. Like, I don't play games, to be represented. I want to play games, so I can have that little power fantasy where I'm, rescuing the damsel in distress or saving the planet, where I am the hero in a made of fantasy, because Lord knows my real life is in the gutter right now and I can't do anything. Oh my goodness. In the end, I want to go through again, what Yoshida said in the interview, which Jiang conveniently did not cover in the article. In the end, we simply want to focus to be less on the outward appearance of our characters and more on who they are as people. People who are complex and diverse in their natures, backgrounds, beliefs, personalities, and motivations. People whose stories we can resonate with. There is diversity in Celestia, diversity that, while not all encompassing, is synergistic with the setting we have created, and is true to the inspirations from which we are drawing. And that right there is the kind of diversity I can get behind any day. I don't care if you're black, brown, white, or a genderless alien. If the character is well defined, then the skin color would not matter. Their struggles, their motivations, their sacrifice, and their sorrow would carry weight. And that is what would make their game more memorable, and not their skin color or any other physical attribute. Like, dude, have you seen Demon Slayer, the Mugen Train arc? I was crying at the end when one of those characters died. I don't want to, spoil it for you. But those who have seen it, dude, I was crying at the end. Same goes for Final Fantasy XV. When Prince Noctis made that sacrifice at the end. Dude, I was crying. I was like, my goodness, I've been touched. I wish my father had shown me that kind of love when I was growing up. Damn. Oh my god, dude, I've gone down that road. I shouldn't be going down that road. Anyways, dude, that's enough from me. The whole spiel. Rate, comment, subscribe. I don't care, dude. Peace out, angels, and stay awesome.